Oh, we need the 8-ball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the 8-ball is our official mascot.
8-ball.
Well, the 8-ball's not.
8-ball.
I fear I may have gotten rid of the 8-ball.
You had one job, Rich.
He got rid of the 8-ball.
I do not have one job.
On this show, you do. It's the 8-ball.
Unfortunately, in real life, he has like 40 jobs.
Yeah. In a moment of weakness, I must have gotten rid of it.
All right, you want to flip a coin then?
Flip a coin.
All right, heads, Patrick goes first. Tails, I go first. Oh my God. So that was on tape.
Realistically, you knew something like that was going to happen.
There was no way Rich could actually complete a coin toss. It's way too much to ask.
I was so proud that I caught it and I put it there.
And then you just fumbled it away like an infinity gauntlet.
And I think we now have our opening.
Yes, yes, just like Thanos let it slip through his fingers.
Okay, Tails.
I think that means you start.
I start. I go first.
I need the 8-ball back.
Yeah.
I desperately need the 8-ball back.
Don't we all?
Well, the 8-ball never let us down.
No.
Oh, I did have it. I searched wrong in the.
Hey, welcome back to Even More Mashed Up. We are the podcast coming to you from the Misericordia University. We are two professors talking about all things pop culture. I'm Alan.
And I'm Patrick, who has watched all 21 MCU films in advance of seeing what we're talking about today, Avengers Endgame.
Wow, it didn't take you long to slip that humble brag in there, did it?
Told you, seamless, organic. I was going to get it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the moment you said that, I was like, I know what I'm doing. I really hope the coin goes the right way.
It's in there. Well, the coin went your way.
It did. It's
Didn't
almost
go
like the
listeners'
fates
way,
wanted me to get that in
unfortunately.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, not the listeners, but the fates.
Oh, I'm sure the listeners wanted that in there, too.
So today we are talking about
Avengers Endgame.
That's right.
As I said 5 seconds ago.
It was a somewhat big movie.
Seems to have done all right.
It's done okay.
Not terrible.
I try not to pay attention to numbers, but these numbers were everywhere. They were hard to
They're hard.
avoid.
Well, they broke all the records, I think you could pretty much just say.
Yeah, $1.2 billion.
I gotta
seems
say,
like a lot of money for a weekend.
Yeah, I was a little bit shocked because I went and saw it like Friday. It's not Friday. I saw it the second time I saw it Tuesday on $5 movie day.
Yeah.
And I went to like the 2 o'clock thinking, it's not going to be busy. So I get there and there's one box office agent and she's on the phone with someone like looking for tickets. And she's literally like working her way backwards. I'm like, nope, at the 4:30, there's just seats in the front 2 rows. 4 o'clock,
Still?
just seats in the front 2 rows.
Wow.
3:30, just seats in the front 2 rows. I'm like, and I'm getting there at like 1:45. I'm like, oh, this is not looking good.
Yeah.
There were still plenty of seats for the 2, but like everything late in the afternoon was still, you could only, at 1:45, you could only get seats in the front 2 rows.
We went on Sunday, and we ordered. We thought we'd order tickets in the morning.
Yeah.
You bought
Big
them
mistake. We ended up in the front row.
I did too.
Like
It's only way.
the second row, and it was there were 40-some shows that day. 50 shows.
Oh, yeah. Every like 30 minutes.
And they were
Yeah.
like just utterly booked. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. Like I
So
said,
it seems like it might have been a hit.
I think so. I think it's been, and I was kind of wondering like if it's going to have the legs to sustain itself.
I know you like legs.
I have a feeling it's going to have the legs to sustain itself for a little while.
Given your Tuesday experience.
Yeah,
it feels
exactly.
like
I was like, wow, okay, people are still people that aren't me are still coming to see this on
I
Tuesday.
wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind going to see it again. And I'm not like you with the superhero movies.
Yeah. I will say I liked it better the second time.
You will say.
We'll get into that.
Why would you start by saying I will say? Why wouldn't you just say it?
Because it's not something you would normally expect me to say.
But I completely expect you to say that.
No, because you would expect me to.
100%.
No, because I came out of the first viewing very mixed in how I felt about it.
You kind of intimated
And
that.
I do still have some critiques, but I felt a little bit better about it.
How could it have made $1.2 billion and not made you perfectly happy? It's a conundrum.
Well, I'm not all about just the box office.
No, but what I'm saying is,
how dare you reduce me to box office?
If you had such mixed responses as like a diehard fan,
that's why I was wondering if it was going to have the legs, because I'm like, oh, I think this movie is not going to be. I have to say, because I like walking out of it, I was like, oh, it's more Age of Ultron than anything else.
Can I
really? Age of
I
Ultron.
think I went.
I really like Age of Ultron, but
I know
I went in with
judge
expectations I think that were too high. Like I was.
I think in some ways
as
I may have
excited
as well.
to see this movie as I have been any movie in a
I
while.
don't think the expectations were too high,
And-
considering the hype behind it.
Well, but I think that it might have been impossible to meet what I was hoping for.
Yes. Well, and I think
it's concluding like a 22 movie
given what
arc
the
that
film
should
has
never
to
have
do.
been possible
Yeah.
in the first place.
Exactly.
Right?
Given what the film that
Like
it had to be, a sequel to Infinity War,
Right.
a movie on its own and a capper to every MCU. Like, there was a lot of stuff.
And it
they
had
know
to
how
be the
do.
Marvel annual super team up.
Yeah.
It has everybody in it.
Yeah. So it had a
Which it
lot
did.
of.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things, like, I think part of why Age of Ultron was not as successful, because Whedon said in interviews that he was trying to make the MCU version of Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
And I'm like, you don't make Empire Strikes Back when you're trying to make Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
And so, like, Age of Ultron, I think, failed because of some of the pressures Whedon put on himself, in addition to the external pressures. I think Endgame had a lot of external pressures. I don't think the Russos were necessarily trying to do anything beyond that. I think that's probably why it's probably a little bit more successful than Age of Ultron. But there's no way that this movie could, well, as we talked about, there's always going to be some element of anticlimax
Somebody
to this
listened to the
film.
show. Somebody actually listened to one of our shows.
I did. There's always going to be a little bit of
It's weird meeting a
anticlimax.
fan.
Well, no, he's only listened to one out of like 90.
No, I
Because
listened
he
to several
had
of the
to.
first few episodes.
Several. So he's gotten a good 3 or 4.
No, I probably got through like about 10 or 12.
Now, I listened to all of them because I edit them.
Well, you're lucky.
Actually, you listen to more than all of them because you also listen to the stuff we don't actually put in because you have to cut stuff out.
That's true. And
hate
you've lost a
myself.
couple shows along the way, too. So
Yeah.
Yeah. But there was always going to be a bit of anticlimax to this in the sense of,
Well-
like, the heroes. We knew they were coming back.
No, right. And to me, the other thing is, like, again, we've talked about this on the show before. Had I told you and me when we were like 7 years old,
Right.
there's going to be,
Well, when you were 7, wouldn't I be like 2?
well, at different times because we're traveling through time.
Oh, okay.
So it's simple in
Gotcha.
that way. There's going to be a movie universe
Mm-hmm.
of all your favorite superheroes. It's going to run for 22 movies in like 50 hours or whatever.
Its first sort of phase is going to be 22
Yeah.
movies.
Right,
'cause
like,
it's
This
still
is
going.
the end.
we would have thought that was the most ridiculous and awesome thing we'd ever heard.
Well,
Right? It was-
or if you had told us that it was going to be that and Avengers,
Yeah.
I would have scoffed at you because I'm like, no one's going to make an Avengers movie. That's going to be X-Men. Because at
Yeah.
7, we would have been in the 80s.
Right. Yes. No, fair enough.
Yeah,
But
X-Men,
again,
it's going to be the ultimate title.
my point being,
Yeah.
it's this unbelievable. Like,
No.
has it ever been done in cinema before? To
I
like
can't think not to this extent. Like, I can't think
James
of.
Bond.
I mean,
Yeah, like,
but
that's
even
the
then, they've
best.
rebooted James Bond several times.
Right. And it's not.
You've never had a sustained narrative over 22 films.
Exactly. It just,
And you didn't
it's,
take the different characters of the James Bond world and have them have separate movies and then come back.
It's a
Yeah.
really kind of remarkable thing.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. What I mean,
But it
well,
meant
particularly
that-
when you look at when you compare it to the DC movie universe.
DC's over here just trying to
I mean,
make
Marvel
a
had the
movie.
luxury of having the time to do,
Right.
particularly the early films,
Well, you
but
know
to
what?
build sort of this long.
Number one, DC had that luxury if they wanted to take it.
That's true.
They just felt like they couldn't.
Yeah.
And number two, that's why I think I was always going to be somewhat dissatisfied leaving this film.
Yeah.
Although I will say, and we'll talk about this later, that they brought several kind of narrative arcs to what I thought were fairly satisfying
Yeah.
conclusions at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Some more
you know,
disappointing than others, but
yeah. I think we'll get into that.
but first we want to talk about predictions.
yeah.
because
Speaking of things we talked about
I
before.
quizzed Patrick and Rich on a previous episode.
Yes.
A while
where
ago.
it was a bit ago.
Well,
and-
we effectively took the month of April off from the podcast.
yeah,
Yeah, things happened.
Well, I'm pretty sure we
Yes.
taped some episodes and then Thanos snapped them, and it took a while to get them back.
that's right.
Yeah.
But slowly they're being
5 years later.
undusted.
Wow, he has actually seen the movie.
Yeah.
Or at least read something about it.
That's right. No, I trust him. I trust that he saw it.
So
I didn't stay for the credits because I had to really go to the bathroom, but I'm glad that I didn't have a scene, so I didn't miss anything.
yeah. I managed to make it all the way through the second time.
I made it all the way through,
Yeah.
but I don't have any particular pride in that.
Yeah. So, all right.
So, anyway, let's talk about the predictions.
So we made a lot of predictions. We made predictions based on the trailer.
Yes.
We had the chances of survival.
Yep.
And we had some various other predictions. So I went through kind of everything to see how we
Yes.
did. So there's a couple things we got wrong right off the bat.
What did you get wrong? I was only asking the questions. So
Well, no. These weren't things that we got wrong necessarily. These or that you asked questions about. These are
Okay.
things that we talked about.
There
So
were some things I was very happy about because I knew
Itchy-
I hit it on that head.
itchy Thanos did not come true.
What was Itchy Thanos again?
Itchy Thanos.
That he was going to be defeated because when he puts the armor back on after being a scarecrow, it was going to be all itchy.
Oh
Yeah, that was my theory. That didn't happen.
no, no, Itchy Thanos. I didn't know that we called him Itchy Thanos.
We
but-
did at one point. Beatnik Thanos. The idea that he was going to go back in time, which was your theory.
Yeah,
That also did not come true.
he did go back in time, however, so you could give me partial credit
Thanos
for that.
went forward in time, not backward.
He did.
Damn it! But then he moved backward, didn't he?
No.
He
2014
Oh, he never
Thanos
got
comes
out.
to
He only
2023
traveled once.
And he never got
and gets
back.
killed. Yeah.
So he traveled through time. So partial credit.
no partial credit.
It's a 50-50 question.
So based on an
It's not
image,
50-50.
I think he
Rich,
traveled
life
back.
is not black and white 50-50.
it is, but we weren't really doing a competition with you anyway.
It is.
If you think about the quantum time travel, which way's forward and which way's back? I don't think it's clear.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
Quantum had...
technicality.
Pretty sure it's all back.
Technicality.
Nobody went forward in this movie. Everybody went back except for Thanos.
And the stones.
Or everybody went forward and he went back.
The stones went forward.
Yes. So, based on the image of Stark and Nebula working on something in the trailer,
Yes.
one of us correctly predicted that they were fixing the Benatar.
Yes.
However,
And
But-
it was me.
But that's not
Called
right.
it!
No, that's not right.
you said it was because that's how they'd be rescued.
And they
No, I just said that they would be. No, we'll
And-
get to the rescue. No, how Stark and Nebula got rescued, we each had a theory.
and they couldn't fix it.
Me was the Rocket and Thor pod theory.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
I like how none of us...
Alan,
Yes.
you said they had more air than than Tony suspects they do.
I said they just died.
Yeah, and Rich said they died. So none of us got that.
In
Was
retrospect, I prefer my answer.
None of us said Captain Marvel, which I thought someone did, but
Now,
none of us did.
But was Marvel even... It had to be announced at that point. Like,
Oh yeah, no, it had been announced at that point.
Yeah, I don't
Can I
know
say-
why even think Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
The saving of Stark and Nebula, I found a little disappointing.
Yeah, it wasn't kind of needed.
Well,
In terms of
that it's just Captain Marvel shows
Yeah.
up and like pushes him home. It's like, okay, I think like a 7-year-old could have written that part of it.
Well, and especially because
there's a
nothing
few
mattered.
moments in the film where I think maybe they could have used another pass through the script.
Yeah,
And that might have been
I think
one.
I think
There's a couple that we might get to.
yeah.
So one of the other things we talked about was who was the scrubbed out figure in the trailer.
Yeah, Captain Marvel.
It's not Captain Marvel. It was Fat Thor. Captain Marvel's not in the scene when they go in the time travel.
Man, it was Fat
It's
Thor.
Fat Thor.
Wow. That's something they like.
Oh,
we
that's
have
twist.
To,
Yeah, it's
we
Fat
can't
Thor.
Let
Can I say?
know that.
Well, I want to come back to Fat Thor eventually.
I do too. Because I gotta say, we always get shirtless Hemsworth in his
Yeah.
movies,
Oh man.
and they did not vary.
I would just, yeah.
was
So
best, though.
one of us
was awesome.
predicted that Thanos would attack the Avengers compound
Compound.
based on one of the Lego sets that had been released.
Yes.
Oh.
Called it. That was me.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, no, who
All
else
right.
would talk about Legos?
So chances of survival. This was where we got into the nitty gritty,
Oh.
the quiz.
You and Rich.
Yes, this is me and Rich
showdown.
going head to head.
Right.
So,
Like two mountain goats locked
there were
horns.
there were basically
We both knock each
three.
other off the mountain.
There were basically three characters.
Yes.
Where we differed enough to say
Iron Man,
Iron Man,
Cap.
Cap,
Hulk.
and Hulk.
All right.
I was very surprised how it turned out.
Iron Man,
I think you're going to not be surprised.
I
how the
said he had a
competition turned out.
25% chance of survival.
That's pretty low.
Rich said 50.
So you were closer.
So I was closer, which means I get the win.
Wait, no, time out. I did not get any partial credit, so I don't know why you would get credit. You would need to call a kill.
Because last
or
time we
it's
did
no good.
last time we did the predictions, it was whoever was closest.
Well, not this time.
Now, we're not
Because you
changing
changed
the
the
rules.
rules for me, so I'm changing them for you.
No.
It's 0-0, Rich.
No, it's 1-0.
Do we want to ask the 8-ball?
Yeah, 8-ball.
For
What
Captain
is the
America,
score?
for Captain America, chance of survival,
Yes.
I said me 50% because he goes back in time.
Yeah.
Rich said 0% chance of survival.
Definitely not no.
Oh.
Yeah,
So,
I super expected it to not to turn out the way it did.
2 for me, 0 for Rich.
1.5 to 0.
Hulk, chances of survival. Rich, 50%.
Rich, why would you think?
Me, 100%.
Why did you think that
3-0, the
I think
sweep.
I might have just been like pessimist that day. I might have just had a bad day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like just very angsty or whatever.
Fair enough.
Now, to be fair, we all said Thor would survive,
Yes.
so we all would get credit for that.
Yeah.
We also all said Black Widow would survive.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, quote, no way they kill off their most significant female character. End quote.
Yeah, that's
I want to. Well, there are many things I want to talk about.
I
want
wanna
to
talk about that a
I
lot.
want to talk about Black Widow a good deal as well.
I
Now
do
wait,
too.
but also didn't you at some point say that a possibility of getting the stones? Didn't we do predictions for that?
Predictions for...
Getting how they get the hands on the stones.
I've got one of those.
Because I remember at one point you were saying, I think in jest, that Ant-Man would go back in time to get them out of other realities.
Actually, I believe what I said is that they would use the quantum vortex from
Yeah.
Ant-Man Nailed it.
And that's what I like watching.
Everybody knew that was coming. though.
However,
wait, are you saying? Wait, I want to be clear about this.
Mm-hmm.
So you nailed something that people would not have known about the movie, correct?
yeah, what?
You just said that you nailed it, and you're proud. So it must mean that it's not something people would have known about the movie.
I'm not sure where you're going.
Well, it'll come back to you, but
Okay.
that's what you're saying, right?
I'm just saying they
Yes,
used the
he
quantum
is.
vortex from Ant-Man.
All right, excellent. Thank you.
I said that in the last show, and I'm
you
right
called
now.
it, and you're proud of it.
I nailed it.
Because if everybody knew they were going to use the quantum vortex, you wouldn't be proud of that.
Oh, I
that-
see where we're going now.
Would you? Correct?
I see where we're
Would you?
going.
Okay, thank you very
I
much.
know where
Rich.
we're going.
Please check him down as a yes, and we'll come back to the quantum vortex
Another of us,
in a few minutes.
to be fair,
Yes.
another of us predicted, quote, they will use time travel to get the gauntlet. Do you want to know who that was?
Who?
You.
What a lucky guess on my part.
Really?
Yeah, it's a guess.
Really?
We were guessing. That was
Really?
the whole point of the thing.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't think they were going to do time travel.
And
See,
then one
thank you,
person
Rich.
predicted, you will come to the studio and you will weep. Which is wrong.
You're not crying?
I'm not crying.
You had too much time to process. We should have
I'm
done
not
it.
crying at all.
To
So
be fair, I thought a lot more were going to die.
I clearly did not because I
Yeah.
called it.
You called a lot.
Called it.
So, anything else on the prediction list?
I believe that is all the predictions.
Do we have any Hawkeye predictions?
Oh, we did have. Well, in terms of
That's
Hawkeye
right.
being.
Remember, I said when the dusting happened, Hawkeye would be at home just with the kids, and it'll happen. And when that happened,
Yeah,
I was so happy.
Yeah,
Okay. Can we call? You were really happy to watch his wife and kids erased from existence.
Just because it's just him at home with the kids, and like all this epic stuff was happening.
So we did make. So Rich and I did make predictions about Hawkeye.
That's right.
That we ultimately said were essentially the same because Rich said 100% chance he survives.
Yeah.
I said 75% because he won't be the same person he was before.
Oh, he's the same person he's always been.
No, he's not.
Oh, I can make the argument
He's
that
much
he is.
darker.
I don't think
He
so.
just killed a whole bunch of people.
Can we just admit that this was another bad film, bad day for Hawkeye?
I thought it was a good film for Hawkeye.
How?
By the end of it, it's pretty well.
Is it? Is
Yeah,
it?
he's back with his family.
You know
and
what?
all those people he murdered, we're just going to ignore them.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah, 'cause-
he gets to go home to his family. The Black
Good.
Widow has like
Yes.
turned her life
Again,
around.
it might be another spot where the script needed another pass.
But can we just count the ways at which Hawkeye lets everyone down in this film?
I don't think there are very many at all.
I've got at least 3 that are real.
I don't think that's true.
Thinking about this kind of building on Age of Ultron, because like we're remembering, of course, the way in which, poor Quicksilver ate it because Hawkeye couldn't get off the
One of
raft
us
in time.
remembers it that way.
Right. Okay.
No, I'll agree.
Number 1, he kills the Black Widow.
No, Black Widow kills herself.
No, he lets go of her.
No, she pushes off the wall and rips her arm out.
No, he lets
It's a
go.
shame he wasn't a
No,
trained agent.
He clearly lets go.
No, because she tags him with her,
If he-
her widow line. That's why
if
he's
he-
got the widow line for the rest of the movie.
If he wanted it enough, he would have held on.
No, I don't think that's true. No, she
He's the
wanted
one
it
that
more.
should have died.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, we agree. Second, he literally has the Iron Infinity Gauntlet,
Yes.
and when the bad guy asks him to have it, he just hands it over to
He
her.
doesn't realize that's Evil Nebula. He doesn't even know there is
but
an Evil Nebula.
Did Hawkeye just hand off the Iron Infinity Gauntlet to the enemy?
Yes.
Unknowingly,
Yeah.
yes.
So he's now killed Black Widow.
He did not
He's
kill
given
Black
away
Widow.
the Infinity Gauntlet to the bad guys.
But the moment she says father, he's like, what?
and then
And then what does he do? Does he grab it
And then, he,
again?
and then he
No.
gives it to T'Challa.
and he tries to run through the gauntlet to
He
the
does.
time machine.
Hawkeye's really good at running. We established that in Age of Ultron.
Obviously, he's not. He
He's
can't
not that
do it.
good.
He's got to hand it off to others.
Yes. Who knew that the game was the Avengers Endgame was going to come down to a game of hot potato?
So the point being,
Infinity potato.
Infinity. My point being, Hawkeye really botched it again this movie.
Listen, he killed a lot of Mexican cartel dudes and
And-
some generically Asian ninjas.
That's right. So he killed a lot of non-white people. I'll
He
put
did,
that on the
yes.
list.
He
did, yes.
First, he
A
kills a
lot
lot
of
of non-white
non-white
people.
people.
Yes.
Then he kills the Black Widow. Then he hands
Widow
the
kills
Infinity
herself.
Gauntlet over to the bad guy,
Unknowingly.
and then he cannot get the gauntlet to the time machine.
He gets it like 2/3 of the way there, I
It's a shame
think.
he doesn't have some sort of.
It was a good 2/3. He was sprinting.
It's a shame
Well-
he couldn't have launched an arrow with the gauntlet on it to the rest of the way.
It's a heavy gauntlet.
It's a shame he couldn't contribute anything to the team actually winning this time
He
around.
contributed a lot of things. He carried the
Also,
gauntlet 2/3 of the way.
He
Disappoint.
didn't
And then
carry it
T'Challa
2/3
took
of the
it
way,
like
number
10
one.
feet. Spider-Man took it like another 10 feet. It was good.
Also, real disappointment that when they were both at the cliff, I was really hoping they'd be like, you know what to do, and they both just shoved the skull guy off the cliff. Like I was really.
You mean the guy that floats in the air?
They're
going to shove him over the cliff.
Yeah, he's totally floating.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't even tell.
Shove him over. It'd be great if they shove him over
he's
there,
like,
and he's just floating there.
He's like, serious Liebchen.
Seriously, it's got to be somebody you love too, and nobody loves the Red Skull.
No.
Yeah, the rules of the soul.
I will say that's one of the other things. We'll probably get to it at the end, but
yeah.
Technically, Cap at the end returned the Infinity Stones to where they go.
So what does that mean?
Which means he brought the Soul Stone back to Vormir. Which means he had to encounter Floating Red Skull. I would have liked to have seen that conversation.
And how do you put it back? Like, could you just hand it to the?
We'll get to that
because if he puts it back, the soul should come.
No, that gets into the time travel stuff. But we'll. There's a couple issues.
I've got some time travel stuff, but while we're on Hawkeye, I've got another issue.
Yes.
That I think you wanted to talk about too, and that's like the film's decision that it's the Black Widow who has to be sacrificed.
Yeah.
And not Hawkeye.
Yes.
I thought, like, one of the moments, like, in terms of just filmmaking, that I was not a big fan of was the debate or the competition between Hawkeye and Black Widow.
I was not a fan of, from a filmmaking perspective, of the entire Black Widow's death. But, yeah, the debate felt very flat to me.
Right.
I 100%.
But
I gotta say,
the debate wasn't the worst part of it to me.
The competition.
Right. Had they just had the debate and then one of them thrown themselves off the cliff, I might have been able to live with that. But, Hawkeye goes to run and she shoots him, and then she runs and he shoots an exploding arrow, and then he jumps, but,
she jumps.
And it's just, I thought it felt really contrived and forced. And it was one of the moments of the film where I was really like,
no, I would say
that's not something I'd want to watch again.
I would say for me, the Vormir sequence with Black Widow and Hawkeye, for that and other reasons, is the weakest part of the film.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that bothers me is and I've seen it twice now, within the film, like, we understand why Hawkeye wants to sacrifice himself.
Yeah.
Like, he's done awful things.
How does he atone for that?
Yeah. There is no motivation given for Black Widow wanting to kill herself.
Yeah.
Like
unless you buy her statement earlier in the film that it's like her family now.
Yeah, but none of that's really mentioned at the moment.
Yeah.
Like that,
no, you're right. You're right.
Like
I'm trying
Black
to
Widow's
read
motivation.
into it.
Like she could have said, "I've got red in my ledger," and I would have been happy with that.
Yeah.
The whole thing that Red Skull says, he says it last film and this film.
Yeah.
You have to sacrifice that which you love the most. Hawkeye's family gone. He doesn't have anyone to sacrifice. Black Widow still has Clint. That would have been, a perfectly logical explanation. There's none.
Unless you buy the Avengers as a pseudo family.
Yeah,
but I agree with you.
I really, and for I don't have a problem with Black Widow dying in this movie. For it to happen outside of, like, she's the one Avenger that doesn't make it to the big climax, the original Avenger that doesn't make it to the big battle.
Right.
And just, like, even the moment of her, and I think part of it too is, this was one of many moments that were clearly callbacks to earlier moments in the MCU.
Right.
This obviously recalling Gamora's sacrifice, which had all kinds of power to it.
Right.
There was no resonance to Black Widow's death for me at all.
Yeah.
Like, the entire scene, like, they show up on Vormir, like, why didn't Nebula tell them at some point, one of you's going to have to die? Like, they're shocked with, like, but this scene is such a note-by-note kind of repeat of the last death with Gamora in Infinity War, that it just felt completely flat to me.
And if you think about it, when they divide up to go to different places in the past, it's weird that they don't send people with experiences in certain places to certain places.
Yeah.
Like, it felt...
Why do they all go to Vormir when it's like there's no one else who's been in space before?
It felt like they went there because Black Widow was going to die.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
Like
it
there
feels
was this narrative
really
predetermination.
It feels really forced.
Yeah.
And contriving. Yeah, it is for me 100%. My biggest criticism of this film is that I think Black Widow is very ill-served.
I agree.
In terms of how she dies. I don't necessarily have a problem with that she dies.
Right.
I mean, in point of fact, she and Iron Man are the two longest-serving characters in this universe.
Right.
Because he's in Iron Man 1, she's in 2.
Yeah. Well, the Hulk's still around.
But it's a different Hulk.
He doesn't really count. Yeah.
So, I just, like, even the image of her laying there dead, like, the way they filmed it I'm like, it just feels flat.
No, I completely agree that there was no emotional connection for me as I watched that scene.
And I feel bad because there should be.
Yeah, and in part because I think I was caught by surprise, like, because I'll give the Russo brothers this. Like, it's Hawkeye that should die.
Yes, and
Like,
I really wonder if it's
there's-
because everybody figured out that Hawkeye was going to die, if this was a swerve they did.
I guess
hope
so,
not.
but like, he was the one who needed to die. And like we said on the podcast before, when they killed off the Black Widow, like, I thought to myself in the theater, did they just kill off the one and
Yeah.
only original female Avenger?
Yeah.
And really on a team that was still pretty male dominated, right? Like, the only other one was Nebula, and she spends a lot of this movie, like, previous movies, being deconstructed and tortured by her father.
Yeah.
It just felt like, now I think the film made up for it in other ways, like, because killing off Black Widow, I thought,
I depending on what you talk about, I might be, because I got to say, the death of Black Widow is my biggest critique of this film.
yeah,
I feel like the treatment of women in this film in general has some other problematic moments,
well,
or moments that don't resonate the way they should.
right, but the bad politics of killing Widow, I felt they tried to balance with, like, the female brigade.
Yeah, but with her not there, it felt kind of empty to me.
No, I agree.
And it felt
I
like
agree.
a moment that was, because there was no reason for that set of characters
Yeah.
to be together at that moment, and so it felt a little bit too forced and
Again, no,
pandering to me.
contrived, but clearly contrived in a political kind of way.
Yeah.
Right? That, like, we're going to empower women here, which is not a bad thing to do.
No.
And it's interesting that they kind of have to write the Scarlet Witch out for most of the film, because she's, like, one of the few that can actually kind of go toe-to-toe.
Oh, yeah. She goes
with
toe-to-toe with Thanos for a
And
while.
they have to kind of contrive to get Captain Marvel away because, like, they're too powerful.
Right.
Which is an interesting kind of, like, twist.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
you
they're
wouldn't have
two of the people
expected.
that go against Thanos besides the big three.
Right.
And pretty much hold their own for as long as anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, like that moment, just number one, not, and my friend Helene, that's on Facebook, she and I are on the same page on this. She's kind of getting more and more furious at the film the more she sees it. But
Really?
to have that big moment without Black Widow for all the women, rank falls, and then I gotta say,
I think you could do that had Black Widow died in a way
in the battle
that felt
or died in a way that felt like it resonated.
like that resonated. So I see what you're saying. I still think what the movie, what their makers are trying to say is worth thinking about. But I can also see that it is a little
Well, and then in the same vein,
okay.
like again, I like the moment at the end with Thor sort of naming, Valkyrie becoming King of Asgard.
Yeah.
But that's something that was barely set up at all. Like that's another moment that did not resonate for me at all. 'Cause I'm like, we saw her working like on the docks with some
But see,
people. But I was like,
this is
those last two moments where they tried to do kind of a female empowerment. They didn't feel as earned as I would have liked them to be within the film.
This is the problem for me with the Avengers films, because I thought we were going to like rank the MCU universe today, and we might not get to that, and that's fine. But the more I think about the films that I really love in the MCU universe, and I don't hate any of them.
Right.
So like I don't mean to run down any of the films.
Well, and having watched them all recently, I have to say that I liked some of the ones that I used to think I didn't like as much. I was like, oh, that's not as bad as I
Really,
thought
what
it was.
grew on you?
Yeah, Iron Man 2 was not, and I guess I would say the one that really grew on me the most was Ant-Man.
Interesting.
Like I was just like, wow, that movie actually is like watching. I was like, you know what? If this had been the first MCU movie, I think it might have had the same effect as Iron Man did.
Interesting.
Like it felt very, like a very good, solid kind of first introduction.
But the problem I think that the Russos have when they're making a film like this is there's just too much to do.
Yes.
And it becomes such a huge epic. Like in a way, I love the final battle scene in the way it tried to evoke those battle royale kind of moments in comic books. But there's too much going on. Like
so much
when
going
I
on.
look back and I think about my favorite Marvel films, I like the smaller films that maybe aren't as is expansive. One of the reasons why Captain America, except for the third Captain America, which to me is the worst of the three Captain Americas,
Because
it's
they're
like
still
an
all really, really good.
right, but it's still like an Avengers film.
It's more of an Avengers film than a Cap
Whereas,
film.
I think when the story's about just Cap or about, the small Winter Soldier contingent, it just makes for better storytelling.
Right.
I just feel like in my list of the top 22, all of the Avengers films are lower than I thought they would be. Because it turns out I think I prefer more tightly focused films than the sprawling epics. I just feel like the problems we're talking about with female empowerment and whether it resonates or not are in part and parcel of this problem of even when they had 3 hours, at times they're still like they're like zipping along.
Yeah, well, and even then, I mean, given how much time they were able, I mean, I would say that probably excuses them on Valkyrie, excuses them on the women all being together.
Yeah.
They had a lot of time to do stuff with Black Widow that
Yeah.
would have made her death resonate more.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it.
I think they're trying to set that up when she's the last one at Avengers headquarters. Right? They're
Right.
but I don't think they do.
But at the same time, it's like she's the last one holding it together, so why would she be the first one to sacrifice herself?
Yeah.
Like
Well,
those,
because I
those
think-
two don't really go together.
Except that maybe she, and I'm speculating in ways that you'll probably be unhappy with, and it's just speculation.
Mm-hmm.
Given her past, maybe she's come to feel so much redeemed by her membership in this family that she would be the one to stay, and she would be the one to sacrifice.
Yeah, I just wish there was something like that
Yeah.
in the film, because that's the problem, is that there's nothing in the film.
Except for her eating a peanut butter sandwich while she talks to people who
Yeah.
are around the globe.
And
that's
being,
fair. That's fair.
And being really kind of like very intensely trying to fix things.
Right.
You know, like the earthquake, and Okoye says
Yeah.
we deal with it by not dealing with it. That
Wait, is
maybe
that
even kind,
Namor?
of even kind of this idea of that she feels this need to fix things
Right.
might have been able to play into, you know, that's kind of like the final way she's going to fix things.
Right. But you're right. They really needed to
that's the thing, it's
develop
not-
that in a more substantial
That's the thing.
way.
It's not for me. Like, you know, I felt this way after watching the film the first time, and I thought, well, maybe I missed stuff. You know, maybe there's something in there. And then watching the second time, I'm like, yeah, no, there's. And even I hate to say this, even in terms of the way that Renner and her do the scene together, like I feel something from Renner
Yeah.
and his performance. I don't feel it from Johansson's in that scene.
I'd have to go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
It just, to me, it was hard for me to even think about how invested the actors were.
Yeah.
Because it felt so ham-fisted.
I didn't think about it until the second time I saw
By
it.
the time it was done, it was just.
But yeah, it was not a
She's
good.
gonna go. He's gonna go. No, and it's just, like.
Yeah. Well, but that even gets into, in terms of like the film overall, particularly the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
Was I just felt it was so weirdly divergent in tone at times. Like it starts out as just like the most unrelentingly depressing dirge.
Right.
Then it becomes wacky time travel, hijinks and fan nostalgia.
Right.
And then of course the giant battle. I'm like, this is a really oddly paced film.
Yeah.
And just tone. I mean, the second time I watched it, I didn't feel it as jarring as I did the first.
Speaking of the grimness, should we take a minute to remember the fallen today?
Sure.
Okay. Gamora. Is
enthusiastic.
Gamora fallen?
The Gamora
I'm
that died in
confused
Infinity War.
about-
But
yes.
now, I'm pretty sure 2014 Gamora is now running around in 2023.
Yes.
Right. Yes. That I understand to be the
Though
case.
not
felt-
with the Guardians.
No. Well, because you see Quill is searching for her on the computer. And obviously that's going to be part of Guardians of the
Guardians
Galaxy
3,
3, I imagine.
No, it's gonna be like Ross and Rachel on Friends. They weren't together. Now they're together. Now we found a way to force them apart.
Yeah, what was the... I was
they
thinking...
lost them back in
so they
time
can
and
get
went-
back together.
I was
or-
thinking
don't
of
know.
it kind of like when in the Star Trek Nemesis,
Yeah.
which is not a great movie, but they discovered
really?
like an old Data head, or they discovered an early version of Data that was not as human as he eventually had come to be,
Yeah.
and they killed Data in the film until you end up with like kind of not quite Data at. You know, like
I
the
didn't
movie
see the
ends.
film, so.
The movie basically, well, over the course
Don't.
of like however many years there were of Star Trek Next Generation, you had Data's quest to become more human.
Right.
And then at the end of Nemesis, they kill off the more human Data, and you've got
He's not
basically
interested anymore, he's a human.
non-human Data anymore. And it's like, okay, but that's the arc we just spent how many years seeing? I don't
Yeah.
really need to see it again.
Right. And so, are we going to do this again?
I'm a little bit
I
worried.
mean, maybe they won't.
We'll
maybe
see.
the romance is over. But I don't know.
We'll see.
It's-
But yeah, I mean, 'cause
So
I
we
did-
should. So you're telling me we should mourn Gamora even though she's still around?
we should mourn the Gamora from Infinity War,
Right.
2019 Gamora.
Because even the new Gamora is different.
Because this is now a 2014 Gamora.
No, I understand it's a different
in
Gamora,
2023.
but it's Gamora still. It's still this. Is it the same Gamora?
It's a different Gamora.
But it's the same.
It's
but
no,
different.
but she hasn't
It's
had the same
but-
I
experiences.
mean, genetically, she's the same.
Right, but up to 2014, they're the same
Yeah.
Yeah, up to a certain point in 2014.
until she
I'd say.
travels to the future.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
and ends up staying there. But yeah, I think the last time we see her is we see her saving Quill on the battlefield, and then I think we see her fighting one more time after that, and then she's gone. Because someone was asking me, is like, did she get dusted along with all of the Thanos people by Stark at the end? I'm like, I don't think so.
See, that's an interesting theory, but it's clearly not true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess it depends how specific the glove is.
Yeah.
Or the stones, yeah.
So, but I'm assuming she's still out there, but now, she's a stranger in a strange world.
Strange universe, really.
Yeah, and
Well, no,
kind
it
of
wouldn't
having
be
to figure out her
strange,
place.
It'd be
So,
exactly the same.
No, like 5 years or whatever has gone by.
Yeah, but
There's
I
a
mean,
lot of change in 5 years.
I've got some questions about that too.
Oh, you
Like-
better have answers, my friend, because I came with questions,
I think
not
you're gonna be
answers.
Disappointed.
You're the pseudo-scientific
I know,
comic book guy.
but
You're the guy that always
I gotta
provides
say,
the answers.
the time frame. I'm like, wait a minute, it's 2023. How is Parker still in high school?
Okay,
How is Ned still in high school?
Can we come back to that?
I'm like, did everybody get dusted?
I want to come back to this.
Did school stop for 5 years?
I mean, there's clearly enough baseball games happening.
But before we get to time,
Yeah, so
we should talk about.
yes, sorry, Gamora. We can mourn the Gamora we knew,
Okay.
but we have a new Gamora.
So Vision is gone
Yeah.
after all that work that Shuri did. I
guess so.
In the second film, she didn't get
The
done.
only
or-
thing is that we do have on Disney's new streaming service, there is a Vision and Scarlet Witch show.
Oh, really? Okay, so
It's set. Someone told me it's set in like 1950, which I'm like, okay, I don't even understand.
is that like
what's
the
going
Vision
on.
comic book series? Wasn't there like a recently rebooted Vision?
Yeah, but that was like
Vision's
a
been
family.
rebooted a bunch of times, but not.
But the one where they were kind of a family.
Yeah, but that's
Like
not
there
like
was-
the
yeah,
Zero
that was
and-
Vision and his various robot family. Yeah.
Yeah, that felt like it was set in the 50s,
But it's not. It's set in the present.
but in a way, you know, they had.
So,
that
but yeah,
kind of-
so I don't know, but yeah, it looks like Vision is gone. 'Cause
Okay.
Vision is like the one Avenger that does not appear in this film.
Do you miss him?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, that I meant to ask, and I don't know if you have this. And speaking of characters, the kid at Tony Stark's funeral.
Yes.
Did you figure out who that was?
Not when I saw the movie.
Okay.
But I have figured it out since
Yeah,
then.
I had to look it up because I'm like, why are we
Who?
staring at that? I'm like, is that the kid that Ant-Man talked to at the beginning? And then I looked it up. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
It's the guy from Iron Man 3.
Yeah,
Harley.
Harley. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
same actor too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like that kid is
that.
aged.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
It reminds you how long this thing has been running.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like I'm like that kid's age. Even because when he appeared in Jurassic World, he was still recognizable as that kid.
Yeah.
I did not recognize him. Like, who is this kid? Like,
Yeah.
did they invite the kid that Ant-Man met in San Francisco?
What is his royalty check for this appearance, do you think? Like what how
can't
much
imagine.
money did he make?
Who knows?
Unbelievable. So we've talked about Black Widow. We should.
Yeah. So
she's
so
the one we
Gamora,
should mourn,
Vision,
but the
Black Widow absolutely we
the
should.
movie didn't let us.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I hear you saying.
Yeah, there wasn't like I I mourn her, but not for reasons that the film is giving us.
Yeah.
Like I mourn the way the film dealt with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we mourn Tony?
He's next on the list.
Oh, we absolutely mourn Tony.
Do we have to?
Yes.
Why wouldn't you? The guy just gave his life to save 50% of like
Yeah.
living beings. And
I gotta say, when Tony first shows up, I'm not sure he's entirely fair to Cap in his complaints.
Oh,
Really?
it was. Do you
It's like,
think?
like I feel like Tony's
Like
a
that's
little
the thing,
harsh.
it's always hard for me to like Tony because he always has those little episodes like each movie.
But like so he had a bunch of suits floating around the Earth. They were going to stop Thanos.
Yeah. Oh, you know who those suits were? That's the line from Age of Ultron. Like his plan was
Right.
Ultron. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
remember how that worked, Tony?
No. Yeah. So it would be even worse.
Yeah, I'm
but
like-
even if you could make it function in a way that did what it was supposed to do,
Yeah.
it's not going to stop Thanos.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the only thing that stopped Thanos was,
Yeah.
Infinity Gems.
But Tony being kind of an a-hole is Tony being Tony.
it's fairly normal.
I
yes.
guess, yeah. To me, though, it felt like a natural and fairly honest closing of the arc that started in Iron Man 1
Yeah.
and ran into, movie number 22.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I had no like I felt his death certainly resonated.
When you see the old device floating out into the water,
Yeah, proof that Tony Stark has a heart.
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
I did want to ask, how do you feel about Stark's daughter and your whole "you hate cute children"? Because she is freaking adorable.
she's adorable, but she was not enough of the movie to
Okay.
Yeah.
affect my opinion of
I
it.
wondered about it.
They
like,
had the timing down pretty well.
Yeah,
she was.
It's
She
like,
was
oh,
adorable.
look, cute kid. Next scene.
exactly. You cannot have too much.
I
of
did
that.
like the cheeseburgers line.
Yeah, yeah. And the
Because
funeral.
of course that's what he gets when he comes back from the desert in Iron Man 1 is he immediately wants a cheeseburger.
So
Nice
again,
callback.
like
they did that. I will
They
give
did
them credit.
that
They did some
not
nice callbacks
infrequently,
to
yeah.
a lot of the MCU.
right.
Even more than we expect. Because I don't know if you watched the Agent Carter show at all.
Not much. I
But-
saw the first couple.
But the guy that is Howard Stark's or the guy that's letting him into the car,
Jarvis.
is the guy that played Jarvis in the
I
show.
saw that when I was reading
And I'm
about
like,
the film.
that
yeah.
is, I'm very happy you did that. I'm a little
Yeah.
sad that Paul Bettany couldn't do it, but it wouldn't have made as much sense.
No.
But I was like that. I'm like, they got him in the show.
Yeah. Yeah, and like at the funeral, it was not just touching in a way, I suppose, but it was kind of like is the camera pans across all of the different franchises that have kind of spun out of Iron Man.
Yeah.
It gets back to the point we begun with. Like it's just unbelievable how big the MCU.
Oh yeah,
is.
no,
Like,
well, how
it
big
staggers.
and both the size of it and the fact that they have managed to sustain this
Right.
at a level in terms of quality at a level that is pretty phenomenal. When you consider your
Right.
worst movie is probably Iron Man 2 or Thor
Yeah.
Dark World.
Yeah, there's like there's bad movies,
Which are
only
like,
in
you know,
comparison.
they're
Right.
perfectly they're perfectly
Again,
fine films.
most of the DC films would be at the bottom of that list.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
like,
God, yeah.
like better than Aquaman.
DC movies would love
For
to be
instance.
as good as
Yeah.
Iron Man 2.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean that's the-
Suicide
yeah.
Squad would be at the bottom of that
Yeah, I mean
list.
you've got to give whatever the Kevin Feige and Kassan, whatever the
Yeah.
Marvel brain trust that has been shepherding this through.
Yeah,
You've got to give them credit for
sure.
the monumental nature in retrospect of what they accomplished.
Because I grew up, like my childhood was like before it was Batman 66, and after it was like Bat Nipples. Mm-hmm. And the idea that like between Batman 66 and Bat Nipples, that you could actually do something like this is
Just the sheer fact that
still
you could
stunning.
do something like this and maintain a level of quality.
yeah. Well, but you couldn't do it for 22 issues if it didn't have some quality.
I think you mean films, not issues.
because it would fall apart, right?
Yeah.
Like as DC continues to
Yeah,
reboot.
I mean again, it's pretty amazing what they accomplished. Even this movie that probably has too much to do
yeah.
still managed to succeed by and large as a capper to the MCU.
I think it does. I look forward to some smaller, more self-contained films.
Yeah,
but-
I look forward to to building whatever the next.
yeah. That's my concern with Scarlet Witch and Captain Marvel is almost they're so powerful
Yeah,
that it's been a trend in comics too, right? As bad guys and good guys have become more and more and more and more powerful,
Right.
that Jonathan Hickman can only write
yeah,
like these massive epics.
yeah. I mean, I would expect that Captain Marvel is probably going to go more the space angle in the next film.
Yeah.
and thus probably confront like some big. Cosmic baddies. I mean, Marvel's got plenty of them out there. They've really only used Thanos.
But a film of the new Captain America could be a very personal.
Well, particularly with Sam. Like, I really hope the next film really needs to be what everyone's wanted since Civil War, which is the Falcon Bucky
buddy
film.
picture.
Like, yeah, like that.
Oh,
that,
man,
that
put those
yeah.
two guys on the road.
That's what everyone
Yeah.
wants.
Yeah.
Oh.
Put them in that small car.
Oh, I'm in for that. Like
I mean,
I am
yeah, like if they
100%
can capture that
into
dynamic, like I'm there for any of these films, anyways.
Well, I got to say, it was, if you want to think about the politics of the film, a really striking moment
I did like that.
to watch. Like, better than the Female Brigade, for example.
Yeah.
yeah.
That was a moment that worked
to
for me.
watch Captain America hand his shield
Yeah.
to an African American guy. It shouldn't be a big political thing, but I think it is in the world in which we live.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was huge. I was like, that was nicely done.
Have you gone back to read our Black Captain America editorial?
No.
Because I think what we ended by saying, we all know Cap's going to be white again eventually.
Yeah, he will.
And probably in the movies too?
That I don't know. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
So
So
I think the movies can get away with it in a way that because we've had closure with Cap now in the
Right.
films in a way that the Marvel Comics universe like you're
Yeah,
never
that's
going to
true.
get like they've got to keep these original properties going.
Right.
So you're never going to get that kind of closure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a really and a really nice and fairly understated. Like
Right.
it wasn't like a big deal.
To me, it made it more powerful.
Yeah.
Like Stan Lee writing that in 1964 would have written this really bombastically.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. Like the quiet transfer number one is
Or
authentic
even the
to
way
Cap.
they wrote it in recently when they did, they're like, oh, who's going to be the new Captain America? And it was this big, huge thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was very nicely understated.
Especially because Bucky's there, and Bucky has a claim too.
Yeah, I mean, I could
shield
see
as
people
well.
having issues with that, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure Bucky realizes the way he's been.
Yeah.
Like, he's not.
Oh, I agree.
He's not Cap.
that Cap made the right choice. I agree.
Yeah.
But the point being, like, there was a white guy right there who was,
And that was
you
what
know,
I was kind of expecting.
who
I was like,
could be
Bucky's
authentic-
probably going to take it over.
because he could authentically be considered a Captain
Until
America.
he said, Sam, go talk to him. Like, oh, is that what's going to happen?
Yeah, I
did
for
like
one,
the fact-
I liked that moment.
Yeah,
That was
I mean,
when
Cap, the whole wrap up of Cap, I thought worked really well. I liked when he was talking to Bucky, and Bucky says, "I'm going to miss you."
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, Bucky's figured out he's not coming back.
Yeah.
Like he's staying in the past.
yeah.
And I really like that because my friend Helene she was dealing with her children who were very upset by aspects of the film because they
Sure.
like love Tony Stark. So she missed that line. She's like, I don't understand why Bucky didn't figure it out. I'm like, well, Bucky did.
Yeah.
So I really liked. So that was a way of like showing that there is the Cap Bucky bond.
Yeah.
In the same way that there's also the Cap Falcon bond.
But I think that Cap goes back and just stays with Peggy Carter, right? Is the ending that we called for on the show. So clearly the podcast continues to influence the popular culture around us.
Exactly.
Like I don't have any doubt.
Or predict it, one of the two.
I think the Russo brothers definitely heard us and decided they needed to.
Which hurts. You think they could give us a shout out?
You would hope so, or at least a cameo.
Like when the Avenger compound gets crushed.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe this thing is even more mashed up.
Right.
Like that would be totally organic. Like
Or
the
when
way
Black Widow falls off the cliff.
Oh.
I'm surprised she's not more mashed up.
She's not even more mashed
Is
up.
that too far?
It might be a little
really
too.
want a close-up
it's a
of that?
little too soon for.
That would be great, but I'd rather have a cameo in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I gotta say, I was really hoping to win one of the Omaze competitions to go to the premiere.
yeah.
I did not.
To me, it was. And Captain America has always been one of my less favorite.
He's everyone's least favorite, which
I
again.
love Captain America. He's my favorite.
Oh, in
Marvel
the MCU,
heroes.
he's great in the
Yeah.
MCU. In the Marvel, again, like most of the Avengers, but Cap. No
I
one
had
likes
very little enthusiasm for Captain America when it first came as a film.
Yeah.
I just like
Everyone
Cap,
did.
Cap never really, appealed to me in that way. But he's become my favorite, I think.
Yeah.
Of them in many
Well, again-
ways.
again-
and he gets the ending that he deserves.
Totally deserves. Totally
Although I've
deserves.
got time travel questions about that.
I got
ending.
questions too.
No.
Oh, I've got
have answers.
I've-
God damn it. You're the answer man.
Language. A nice callback to Age of Ultron there too.
Did you listen to that one too?
I watched all of them.
He watched all
No,
of them.
the mashup shows, the podcast.
What? No, I didn't listen to that show.
Okay. So I think that gets us to time travel. What? So we're 45 minutes. Obviously, this is going to be a 2-podcast
It is,
show.
but is time travel?
okay.
Is time
Let me
travel a
answer.
5-minute discussion?
Oh.
I feel like time travel might need to be the next episode, and maybe we need to do something smaller.
Okay.
For the time remaining on this episode.
Did you like? Let me ask you a question then. All the inclusion and throwbacks to earlier films that you have Red Skull, you have Jane Foster.
I was surprised
Yeah.
at Jane Foster because everything I heard was that Natalie Portman had washed her hands of the whole
And when
thing.
when we first see her, she's at a door.
Oh, yeah, I was like, oh,
and I'm
that's
like,
how
that's
we're-
not
I'm like,
her.
that's how we're doing
I'm like,
it.
they're just gonna dodge her by
Yeah.
shooting her from a distance and pretending like when she like you.
I
I
was like, holy, yeah, no, I liked that. In fact, I think one of the things I really liked was not only did they do callbacks,
Yeah.
they did callbacks to relatively obscure things like Frigga,
right, Frigga.
Thor's mom, and that was a great scene.
Yeah, the Ancient One
Yeah, that was a surprise.
was interesting to see her back, given the kind of the criticism that
yeah,
role
I was like,
engendered initially.
oh, okay, we're gonna do that again.
We get to see Howard Stark again. We get to see Alexander Pierce. We see
Oh,
Brock Rumlow. We see Jasper Sitwell.
Yeah, the whole scene in the elevator.
I thought
That was awesome.
right. You're like elevator fight.
I know. I was like, oh, Cap's gonna say before we get started, does anyone want to get off? And it was even better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
That he does the whole Hail Hydra.
The Hail
thing.
Hydra. I was like,
Oh.
that. Yeah, that was fantastic. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
70s
era Hank Pym.
Yeah, he was okay. I mean, it was a little.
Yeah.
I thought the hair was a bit much.
The hair was- that's the hair we all wish we had at this
Yeah.
point. There's a lot of hair there.
Yeah, there was a lot of hair there.
Yeah. What I liked about the way they did this was if you'd only watched like the previous Avengers film and this one, you could watch it and it was cohesive and
Yeah.
it told a story. But if you're a nerdy,
Oh, there was a decent, there was a good amount of fan
of
service
this
in
stuff,
this one.
there's a lot of fan
I was
service
like,
in
yeah,
this one.
like I'm like,
but not. I feel like sometimes when DC does the fan service, they do it in a way that detracts from the quality of the film. Like it's
well, I think back to
or a Gotham-esque. Look here,
or even
look
thinking
here.
back to Iron Man 2, whenever they try to set up the larger Marvel universe, the Iron Man 2 narrative just comes to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
They managed to do, and again, they figured that out like fairly early on.
Yeah.
But in Endgame, like they were able to do the fan service stuff without dragging everything to a screeching halt to make the point of like, oh hey, look at this, that's a reference to another movie. Aren't you happy, Patrick? I'm like, yes, I am. Thank you.
So, but I thought they did that pretty well. That was handled.
And I liked that it was really like some really
Oh,
obscure things
And
that
when
they
Cap
did.
picks up the hammer. It's
Yeah.
like, I knew it.
Yeah. Oh, that. Yeah. Well, the moment when
Or
Thanos,
when Thor says, like I knew it all along or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
when
Such a good
Thanos
moment.
was shoving the axe into Thor, I'm like, oh, is Cap gonna? I'm like, is Cap gonna pick up Mjolnir? Is Cap gonna? I'm like, Cap better pick up Mjolnir.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
like that moment
Cap picked him
almost
up.
redeemed the whole movie for me. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
and then you get the smaller one.
Yeah,
That was
so good.
but yeah, like Cap finally because that was one of the things that bugged me about Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
was when Cap barely moves it. I'm like, no, Cap is the one other person that
Yeah.
can lift that thing in the comics.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
And
that.
even in the movies, he's completely
Yeah, like there's
worthy.
no reason he's
Like-
not. If
Yeah.
Fat Thor is still worthy.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, what do you think? I was gonna write Fat Thor, but then it felt like a fat shaming kind of thing.
I don't know what else. Yeah,
So I wrote Chubby Thor.
Chubby Thor. I gotta say, one of the things that
Bachelor
again
Thor.
we talked
I
about.
thought
this,
he was awesome.
Oh,
and
man.
again, one of the things that we talked about with Infinity War that carries over into this movie, Hemsworth just nails the role. Like
Yeah.
when you think back to the first Thor, and you're like, oh, I guess that's okay as a Thor.
Yeah.
He was again in this movie, he was so much of the emotional core.
Ragnarok has totally
Yeah.
reoriented that character.
Yeah,
and
and
it's
and-
a beautiful, brilliant kind of thing.
Yeah, I was again at the end of the movie. I was like, "Wow, this is another movie in which Hemsworth just really."
Yeah.
If you had told me that the Avengers Endgame was going to pivot on Thor, Ant-Man, and Nebula,
Yeah,
I would have laughed at you. I'm like,
Right.
okay, it's going to be terrible.
And the emotional, like,
And
you
they're
know,
about-
not
like
that Tony
their
and Steve
storylines.
don't get their moments.
They don't.
But you're right.
But
yeah.
if you were to tell me, like, because the last film we talked about how, like, the last film was like a Thor movie and then a Scarlet Witch movie,
Yeah.
and a Thanos movie more than anything else. Yeah, Hemsworth. I was like, just some of the moments, like with Frigga, and yeah, like just when he's breaking down, like just
Right.
the acting range of that guy in
Yeah.
this role was like, just I was
from,
amazed.
From there, that conversation with his mom to like as Guardians of the Galaxy, like
Yeah.
that was kind of the
Yeah.
range that he
I
played.
cannot wait to see the third Guardians of the
Oh, my
Galaxy movie.
God.
Oh my God!
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I'm like, okay,
especially
yeah,
if
like-
it's still Chubby Thor.
I have a feeling he'll be a little bit more in shape.
I agree.
So it'd be even funny if he's not, because then that whole dynamic.
I
with
think
him
we'll
and
get.
Quill.
I think we'll
Right.
get some kind of. I'm
Right.
predicting it now.
Yeah,
Opening montage, awesome song.
Yeah.
Thor getting into shape.
I wondered. I was surprised they didn't have one in the movie. Almost,
Yeah,
like
I-
Rocky in Siberia.
When he shows up to, like,
I was kind of surprised at that too. I'm like, oh no, we're just gonna have.
No, like when we saw Chubby Thor, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, it's funny. I get it. I
Yeah.
can even understand it.
we're clearly gonna fix
But
that. by
clearly,
movie
he's
day.
going to work out before he gets back.
No.
No, and just like the
He
whole,
goes on to Thanos
like the whole, like
toe-to-toe.
his lecture trying to explain Dark World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I'd like a Bloody Mary. Like it's like it was funny. It was emotional. Like like Hemsworth.
And the best part, like dads all across America who always wanted Thor's body,
Oh, we've got it now.
much more achievable.
Well, I also do love the fact that I don't think we get one in
For the guys that
Infinity
had to
War.
listen to their wives talk about,
Yeah.
like
That's
he's
the
got a
thing.
great body.
Yeah.
Like I can match
Oh, yeah.
that.
I think we didn't get one in Infinity War, but I think in every other Thor movie we've always gotten shirtless Thor.
Yeah.
and we still got it in
Yeah.
this game.
Yeah,
I'm
in a
like,
way
in this
that
film, I'm
again,
like, oh wow,
soccer dads across America,
Yeah.
much bigger fans of Thor.
Yeah,
now.
you're still worthy.
Yeah,
Because I mean that is the
I'm
old
still
that is the ultimate dad
he can
bod.
still wield Stormbreaker.
Yeah.
and Mjolnir.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
so-
but again, just the acting ability of Hemsworth.
yeah.
Because I mean, again,
I think
Thor
that's
was one of the things that had in this movie and the last movie that just had so much resonance to it.
Yeah, agreed. So, final question before we break.
Okay.
We saw a bunch
Time
of
travel.
like 5 years later heroes. So Hawkeye is now Ronin. Tony is now, I guess, living in seclusion with his family in a cabin.
Oh, you mean when we go? I thought you meant
At
like
the beginning of the
end.
film,
Gotcha.
like at the beginning of the film, like we're introduced to what they look like 5 years on.
Yes.
Professor Hulk. Black Widow sitting
Black
in the,
Widow
the
and Cap
Avengers.
apparently is
Cap
running kind of support
running
group out of a
support
church.
groups. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, authentic. What were your feelings about like where these heroes had gone in the 5 years you haven't seen them? Like, do you buy Clint's transformation from Hawkeye to Ronin
I can't. I mean, Clint's
Oh, yeah.
always had a bit of darkness in him.
in the comics or in the movies?
No, in the movie, in the MCU. I mean, he's basically been referred to in the film as an assassin.
Yeah.
So he's done. I mean, we haven't seen it, but he's done some bad stuff in the past. So
Okay.
I could buy. I mean, it is a bit of a swerve, within the film.
That haircut was unacceptable.
Oh my God, that
agree on
haircut!
that,
Like
right?
the haircut was stupid. Like you don't even need that haircut.
Right.
Like, why does he have a mohawk?
For a guy, no. Here's my point. For a guy who doesn't care anymore, he's getting too many haircuts.
Yeah, like that's
You know,
there's
like-
a lot of gel involved.
Right. Yeah. Like
Well,
he doesn't care about anything. But
yeah.
that
The
hair.
haircut. He's also got the new arm tattoo, like the sleeve.
Yeah.
Tattoo. So the one that I found that kind of bothered me a little bit was Professor Hulk.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out what to do with Professor Hulk. To be honest,
I
with you.
felt a little bit. I was like, oh, did we? Because there were two things. One is that I was like, okay, so we just kind of resolved like the conflict from the last movie,
right.
but we didn't really get to see it.
Right.
And then I kept waiting for them. Like, is there going to be this moment where, like, Banner? We kind of get revealed that Banner is, or Professor Hulk is just barely holding the two halves of him together.
yeah.
And that actually it's not that easy, and we never get that moment. So I felt a little bit. Plus, Professor Hulk is a lot of Mark Ruffalo,
Yeah. In a way that.
and I gotta say,
Sort of
I
his-
kind of like original MCU Hulk.
Yeah. Well, his
Pretty funny.
his lightheartedness at the beginning of the film was
Off-putting
it,
because of all the.
and it seems strange, like
Yeah.
given how Bruce Banner has responded to all the stuff that's gone wrong to him over the course of
Yeah.
all of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
To me, it was somewhat surprising to see him like that.
Yeah, I felt a little. I mean, again, it was something that the fan theories you predicted had right.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the things we talked about. But yeah, there's just something about Professor Hulk that didn't quite. Like, I felt there was going to be more to what they were going to do. Like, there
Right.
was going to be, like, this uneasy tension that maybe was going to come out and be. And now I'm trying to think, where was Hulk in the final battle?
Oh, he
Did we
must have-
really see him fighting?
That's a good question.
I can't recall him.
Rich, pull up a pirated version real quick and watch that last battle.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm trying to. I don't
Oh,
really
I gotta
remember.
download it.
Oh no, because he's trapped
Yeah.
under the ground with Ant-Man.
No, but Ant-Man breaks out. And
But not until like. Oh, that's right. He does break out right at the beginning, so they would have him.
Well, but Ant-Man can sneak out, right?
No, Ant-Man. Remember, he grows giant size to
Oh,
get
that's
out
right.
of there.
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
right.
Hulk
So-
is recovering from the Infinity Gauntlet use.
Oh, that's true. His arm is shriveled and
Yeah,
whatnot.
so he's not really there during the final battle, I don't think.
But to me, Chubby Thor totally worked 5 years later.
Yes.
Oh yeah, especially considering like his issues, like he
Yeah.
talks about like him kind of falling down like that.
Yeah, but Ronan and Professor Hulk, I'm not quite so sure.
Yeah, I mean, it felt a little bit like, hey, let's get Ronan into this. How can we do that?
Right. Yes. Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Well, that seems like a logical place to wrap up part one
The Dead Silence.
of our Avengers Endgame discussion.
Just like Avengers.
That's
There's
right.
got to be a part 2.
That's right. So this was like the Infinity War. Now we're moving into our Endgame about Endgame.